Hi there, my name's Simon Drew, and welcome to the Practical Stoic Podcast, where I give you practical Stoic advice for modern times. If you'd like to see more information about the podcast, or if you'd like to see more of my free resources, you can go to my website. It's risetothegoodlife.com. If you have been getting a lot of value out of this podcast, then please don't forget to subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you're listening to this, and leave a positive review. But for now, enjoy this episode. Since humanity began, we've been inventing new ways to escape our surroundings, to escape our circumstances, to escape our past, our future, our fears, and our troubles. We escape using alcohol, drugs, sex, travel, wealth, fame, fancy cars, possessions, big houses, and 5-star resorts. And I'm sure that the Stoics would undoubtedly say that there's nothing wrong with any of these things. However, it is how we use them that could make them wrong. So, with that in mind, is it wrong to use these things as an escape? Well, if this next passage is any kind of clue, then I'd say that Seneca would have argued on the affirmative. In this passage that I'm about to read, Seneca is writing to his friend about the illusion of escape, or the mirage that leads us to believing that we could divorce our troubles if only we would change our surroundings. He has a particular emphasis on travel. However, I believe that the essence of what he is saying could just as easily apply to alcohol, possessions, sex, and anything else that could be used incorrectly. I'll also say that this is a longer quote, so hang in with me. He says, quote, "The man who spends his time choosing one resort after another in a hunt for peace and quiet will in every place he visits find something to prevent him from relaxing." The story is told that someone once complained to Socrates that traveling abroad had never done him any good, and he received the reply, "What else can you expect, seeing that you always take yourself along with you when you go abroad?" What a blessing it would be for some people if they could only lose themselves. As things are, these people are a worry and a burden, a source of demoralization and anxiety to their own selves. What good does it do you to go overseas, to move from city to city? If you really want to escape the things that harass you, what you're needing is not a different place, but to be a different person. End quote. There is so much goodness in this passage, and so much to consider regarding the way that we live our own lives. The first part that I'd like to bring our attention back to is the story of Socrates, who said that you always take yourself along with you when you go abroad. This is such a profound statement, and one that I'm sure has been the basis of many quotations bearing similar sentiments, including Neil Gaiman's quote, "Wherever you go, you take yourself with you." It's important to recognize in life that we all carry our baggage with us wherever we go. Our circumstances, our troubles, our past, our desires, our fears, our pains, they all come for the ride. And there is only one way to truly shed this baggage, and it's not through traveling, and it's not through buying fancy things. And it's definitely not through drinking until you can't remember anything. So how can we shed this baggage? The answer comes in the last sentence of Seneca's passage, when he says, if you really want to escape the things that harass you, then what you're needing is not to be in a different place, but to be a different person. Seneca actually explains this in greater detail later on in the letter, and he says, quote, "What you must do then is mend your ways and get rid of the burden you're carrying. Keep your cravings within safe limits. Scour every trace of evil from your personality. If you want to enjoy your travel, you must make your traveling companion a healthy one. So long as you associate with a person who is mean and grasping, you will remain a money-minded individual yourself. So long as you keep arrogant company, just so long will conceit stick to you. Cruelty you'll never say goodbye to while you share the same roof with a torturer. Familiarity with adulterers will only inflame your desires. If you wish to be stripped of your vices, then you must get right away from the examples others set of them. The miser, the swindler, the bully, the cheat, who would do you a lot of harm by simply being near you, are actually inside you. Move to better company. Live with the Catos, with Laelius, with Tubero. If you like Greek company too, attach yourself to Socrates and Zeno. The one would teach you how to die, should it be forced on you, and the other how to die before it is forced upon you. Live with Chrysippus, live with Posidonius. They will give you a knowledge of man and the universe. They will teach you to be a practical philosopher, not just to entertain your listeners to a clever display of language, but to steel your spirit and embrace it against whatever threatens. For the only safe harbor in this life's tossing, troubled sea is to refuse to be bothered about what the future will bring and to stand ready and confident, squaring the breast to take without skulking or flinching whatever fortune hurls at us." End quote. So there you have it, Seneca's solution to our troubles: philosophy, study, personal growth, and the pursuit of virtue. These solutions are unsurprising coming from a Stoic like Seneca, but nonetheless they are powerful solutions. Make yourself better, and your life can be better. I particularly love the way that he suggests that we should befriend the great philosophers. And the reason why this resonates with me is because I have often felt as though some of the people who I've felt closest to in my life have been the teachers who I've learnt from regularly, whether they're authors, public speakers, podcast hosts, bloggers, or coaches. It almost sounds sad or depressing to say that, but in my experience, and I'm sure you'll agree, when you spend so much time reading from one author or listening to one public speaker or podcast host, it almost starts to feel as though you know them intimately, and you begin to change just by having that regular association with them and their thoughts, just as you would do if you spent the same amount of time with one of your close friends. I also love how Seneca points out that all of the people who we are trying to escape, like bullies and cheats, are also inside of us. And so we need to first look within so that we can rid ourselves of these kinds of characteristics. As is usual with the Stoics, self-change must always come first. It's just like that quote from Viktor Frankl: "When we are no longer able to change the situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." See, what I wanted to give you here is an opportunity to think about the ways that you've been trying to escape, and the things that you've been trying to escape from, and to consider that maybe the best way to find this escape is by escaping from yourself through study, learning, growing, and pursuing virtue. That is the only true escape, and it is the only way to find lasting freedom in this unpredictable world. Hi there, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Practical Stoic Podcast. I'm so grateful for your support, and I'm really excited that you're the kind of person who's spending this extra time in your life to grow and learn. As you know, if you'd like to get in contact with me, you can go to my website. It's risetothegoodlife.com, and you can just send me an email via the contact page there. I'd love to hear from you, whether you have suggestions for the podcast, or if you'd just like to have a chat, or if you've got any questions for me. So please do that if you want to. Also, I don't know if I've wished you happy holidays yet, so whatever you're celebrating, be it Hanukkah or Christmas, or even if you're not celebrating anything at all, I hope that this time of year is a wonderful time for you and your family. So anyway, I'll talk to you next time on the Practical Stoic Podcast, but until then, I hope that this episode has helped you on your rise to the good life. Ciao. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Practical Stoic Podcast. I hope that you've gotten a lot of value out of it, and I hope that it helps you to live a better life. If you have been enjoying this podcast, then don't forget to subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you're listening to this, and leave a positive review so that other people can have the chance to listen to this great work. Don't forget that you can see more free resources on my website at risetothegoodlife.com or on Facebook at Practical Stoic Quotes.